what's the status of our grid and China's involvement with our grid after these couple of short years under Biden? So I'll hand it over to you.
Sure. So to start out with, as a deputy director at the EMP task force, we work with both sides of the aisle. Protecting the American people and trying to get a hardened electric grid should be a nonpartisan issue. So I want to be careful ascribing motive where I have no proof of motive on certain things, right? So I'm just going to fire away and give you kind of the backstory of how this all started. So I was also a member of the Electromagnetic Defense Task Force, which was a joint services wargaming operation that looked at a long-term grid down event. All the military branches, all your alphabet agencies, the DOE, DHS, NSC, CIA, NSA, all those groups were there. There were some electric utility engineers, and we basically wargamed the effects of a long-term nationwide grid down event at the LeMay Wargaming Institute at Maxwell Air Force Base. And that was a really eye-opening experience. And but that was kind of my first introduction and where I kind of first heard about the fact that these Chinese transformers had started kind of infiltrating America. So to give a little background, our Achilles heel in this country are the high voltage transformers. Depending on where you draw the line, there's about 3,000 of them in this country. And for the last 20 to 40 years, we've been buying them from South Korea and Germany, which are allied nations. They're 400-ton behemoths. At present time, they take 36 months to build. They are built for each site specifically, so you can't just grab one from another location and bring it into that location because they're made for each location. So that's kind of been the background. And as America's Achilles heel, if we lose the high voltage transformers, we're not getting the first one for 36 months. So when we talk about after a long-term grid down event from an EMP, a large solar flare, possibly cyber attack, we're talking about at minimum of 3 years before the first transformer. And you can't produce electricity and transmit it across long line transmission lines without these step up and step down transformers. So that is the big issue. And that's really what the EMP Commission, number one, is really trying to get the government to harden for a long period of time, and the utilities. So with that said, that they mainly came from Germany and South Korea. And then all of a sudden here about, I was roughly 8 or 9 years ago, China basically threw their hat in the ring as far as the high voltage transformer market in America. There's a company called JSHP. I'm not going to try to pronounce what those initials stands for, but JSHP is one of the largest transformer companies in the world in China. They supply a lot of transformers all around the globe, and they are just like any major, especially utility company in China. They are largely beholden to the CCP. Okay, they are basically take their marching orders. JSHP opened an American company in California here, like I said, probably around 10 years ago. And they started selling their high voltage transformers or their medium transformers or whatever they're selling at a fairly discounted rate compared to what we were getting from Germany and South Korea. And so the utility companies jumped on this and they started buying high voltage transformers and installing them all around the country. And there's charts, there's a FERC filing by Chief Master Sergeant Michael Mabey from Grid Security Now. I would recommend everybody go there because the stuff we're talking about, that's all in this FERC filing, all the evidence, all the pictures. And what you can see from his charts is that the Chinese transformers, year after year, they just start installing more and more and more. Well, I think it was September of 2019, for whatever reason, we confiscated one of these transformers at the port. And we sent it to Sandia National Laboratory, and they basically deconstructed that high voltage transformer. And what they found in there, we know some of what they found, but what we know is they had the ability remotely to shut down or destroy that transformer remotely at any given point in time.
Wow! So I want to jump in really quickly here. This is this is such a key thing, right? So here, this is what you're talking about right here. So the U.S. government seized a Chinese manufactured transformer. So in the article, it says on May 27, 2020, there is a report that came out that a large transformer was purchased by the Western Area Power Authority from Jiangsu Huapeng Transformer Company. And that what they said, this is what's crazy, It says, so in an interview on July 16th, 2021, Sadler, the former director of intelligence programs at National Security Council in the last administration, confirmed that after the Chinese transformer was taken to the national lab, quote, they found hardware that was put into that had the ability for somebody in China to switch it off. So this is insane that our country is buying Chinese transformers that run our power grid, and they discovered that there's some back door that allows some cadre over in China to press a button and turn our power grid off. In my understanding, is it that simple of an understanding? Because it seems like absolutely insane.
It's actually worse than that. To my understanding, they found more stuff on those transformers. Again, I don't know what that is, but my understanding is that there's actually more to it than just that. But that's what they've released publicly, that they have the ability to shut it down or destroy it remotely. So, I mean, that's kind of a big deal. So as a direct response to that, Trump signed an executive order saying that, hey, we're not buying any more high voltage transformers or any other critical infrastructure from Chinese companies to put into our electric grid. Again, all 16 critical infrastructures in this nation rely on the electric grid. Every aspect of human life revolves around the electric grid functioning. So, I mean, it's kind of a big deal, right? So you'd think that'd be kind of a no-brainer. And when you look at these charts from this FERC filing and from his later updates, he's been tracking this since then, you can see that the following year, that it went down to 1, but basically until it took effect. So they stopped buying these transformers from this company and putting them into our electric grid. When Biden came into office, he got rid of all of Trump's executive orders. So with that said, giving them the benefit of doubt, it wasn't like he just got rid of this one. He got rid of all of Trump's executive orders, right? Well, we petitioned strongly with the DOE and our task force and a bunch of the other organizations were like, hey, get rid of all Trump's executive orders. That's fine. But this one is a no-brainer. If you want to get rid of it, just put the same thing back with your name on it. Then you can take credit for it, make it stronger, whatever. And they refused to do that. They actually played some paperwork games. So if you go to Snopes and you go to some of these, fake internet fact-checking organizations, it's actually still up there that they're denying the fact that the Biden administration, the current administration, got rid of that executive order.
Folks, perhaps you'd agree with me when I say that over the past 5 years, the mainstream healthcare system's credibility has plummeted. Alternative healthcare systems that aren't beholden to medical consensus or big pharma are on the rise. Sweetamine is time-tested and proven to boost your life with better health. It's one of the leading products that helps with inflammation and daily aches and pains. Just because you get older, it doesn't mean you have to feel old. And folks, did you know that most of the diseases that make people sick and die these days are rooted in chronic inflammation, oftentimes due to glycine deficiency? So Sweetamine is composed mainly of the amino acid glycine, the nutrient that the immune system uses to regulate inflammation. So with once daily Sweetamine, most people feel the reduction in pain after just a few days. So I challenge you to the 12-day Sweetamine challenge to fight inflammation and take control of your health today. So folks, buy Sweetamine online at sweetamine.com or call 855-GET-SWEET. That's 855-438-7933. And make sure you use promo code SETH, S-E-T-H, to get a nice discount on your purchase.
Because what they did is when we petitioned them, said, hey, we need to keep this one in place. They said, okay, we're going to do a 90-day review of this situation. And we sent all kinds of information to them. A bunch of organizations sent information, said, hey, this is very serious threat. Keep this in place. So they did. Technically, that previous administration's executive order is still technically in effect, but they gutted all the language that prevents companies from buying Chinese transformers. See right there. No, Biden didn't give China control. So Snopes have never updated their record that after that 90-day review, they basically make it sound like, oh, that executive order is still in place, but the language that prevented companies from buying critical infrastructure from China, that section of the executive order was gutted out of it. So you can see from Michael Mabey's reports that all of a sudden they started ramping up again, and up to the point where like more and more electric utility companies are buying these transformers and putting them into our grid from a company that we know are building back doors into the transformers. It's not just that, it's even worse. Like JSHP, they're involved in like security meetings for NERC and some of these organizations like EEI that do security reviews for substations and power plants. They're part of that process too. They're involved in a lot of stuff. And from a company again that's affiliated, JSHP USA, JSHP China, which is under control of the CCP. Why are we letting these guys, the fox inside the hen house here? So that's where we're at. They're growing and they're putting more and more. I watched a C-SPAN interview. I think it was the energy subcommittee, and NERC was there. That's the North American Energy Reliability Corporation. They're the self-regulating arm of the utilities, and we can get into that here in a second because that's crazy too. But a couple of the senators were saying, "Hey, what about these Chinese transformers? We've been telling you to look into this for years, and this threat, and how many of them are there? Where are they? We know. I think it's 20% of New York City. I think 40% of Las Vegas at this point is under the control of Chinese transformers from this company. And they were like, this is a big security threat. And NERC just keeps kicking the can down the road. Josh Hawley got up and like raised his voice and is like, you guys have been telling us you're looking into this. And they keep saying, we're taking this real seriously. We're real concerned about this too. We're looking into it. He's like, I want to know a day. When are you giving me this report about, how infected we are with this and what's the plan to get rid of them? Between me and your audience, we talked about it takes 36 months to get a replacement. Part of this is like not wanting to open this Pandora's box, because if they admit that there's all this infrastructure in electric utilities, they can't just turn it off and take it out, because it'd take a long time to replace this equipment. That's part of it. And that's my opinion. And in my opinion, part of the reason they're stonewalling is because I don't think the electric utility and NERC is stupid. I think they recognize, this is kind of a big deal. It's a big deal to get rid of it also, to shut these transformers down and get them out of the grid. So, but with that executive order gone, we're still putting more of them in every month. It's kind of insane. It's insane.
It's just also crazy considering all the global tensions right now, because while there's a handful of folks I come across that in the comments, whatever, they're like, the CCP is a red herring. And, this is, McCarthyism. This is, everyone's claiming, it's the communists and it's actually the globalists or the bankers, whatever. It's like, okay, yeah, there's multiple enemies of the United States, but we can't say that the CCP isn't an enemy of the United States. I mean, go read Unrestricted Warfare, right? The book put out by the two military generals, or even I did a show recently just talking about this leaked speech from the defense minister. This is around 2000. His name was General Chi Hao Qian, with this leaked speech talking about how they need to colonize America and how the landmass of China can't support their population, and they need to colonize America, Canada, and Australia. And so, I mean, he's talking in this speech about how they need to basically get rid of between 1 and 200 million Americans. So this isn't a joke. I mean, they need our land to survive and to sustain as a race. And so when you look at that in conjunction to the fact that we're buying up all these transformers, which are, as you described, are such critical parts in our grid infrastructure, and that it's now, that was back in 2019, 2020, where they're coming out and saying, yeah, actually someone from China can turn off our power grid, basically. I mean, this is like the fact that this isn't on like the front of every discussion about national security is just, it's mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
So again, I would encourage everybody to go read the actual FERC filing from Grid Security Now from Michael Mabey, because I gave you kind of the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there's pictures, there's graphs. He's tracked this down, FOIA requests. It's laid out there plain and simple. When you read that, it's hard to look at that and be like, how could this still be happening?
Folks, we all see it. Everything's getting more expensive. We're paying 2, 3, 4 times what things cost us a few years ago. And we know they're lying to us. 3% inflation, really? Think about it. Why are they telling us to keep our hard-earned money in the banks and stock market while they're rushing to buy gold and silver? That's right. Governments and central banks around the world are dumping the dollar and scrambling to buy up gold and silver right now. These are smart people. They see the signs just like you do. They know the crash is coming. The dollar has lost more than half its value in the last 5 years, and our national debt's increasing $1 trillion every 100 days. Folks, it can't go on like this. Even Bank of America is warning about a dollar collapse. And if they're right, it's only a matter of time before our savings, our IRAs, and our 401ks could be wiped out. Look, right now, it's easy to buy gold and silver, but in the future, it may not be. Experts are saying that prices will keep surging, and UBS says gold could even go up to $5,000 an ounce. Kirk Elliott's phone has been ringing off the hook because the folks who get it aren't wasting time. Now, I can't tell you what to do with your hard-earned money, but I can tell you that even if just some of your savings are in gold and silver, you can rest assured that money is safe. So call Kirk Elliott today and protect your wealth. It's better to be 6 months early than 1 day late. So call Kirk Elliott today at 720-605-3900 or visit goldwithseth.com. Fill out the form, set up your free wealth consultation. Again, 720-605-3900 or goldwithseth.com. Folks, you better act today.